I want to talk about a time that like every single adult like thinks about, always, looks back on it and like, yeah, those were the good times. You remember back in like preschool when we were like going up to our friends, like going up to our classmates, and we are just like playing around with them, and playing like playing with them. You know that game like the Play-Doh and everything like that. You know how fun that was. Yeah, I never experienced that. Nobody wanted to play with me. But no, the point was back when we were younger. It was very easy for us to just go up to each other and just like be like, yeah, what's up? Like, what are you doing? And like, you would be friends like after just like talking to them one time. Of course, us as kids, we didn't say what's up and everything like that, but we just like came up to each other like, hey, you want to be friends? And like, it was just like that. Sometimes people went to, you would be like, oh yeah, you want to come to my house and like play video games or something like that, and you would go from there. I never actually hung out. I never done that before, but still, that's not the point. The point is that it was like back when you're younger, you know, um, the kids that are in your class, you were basically they're your boys for the entire year. You would play with them, you would play with them outside recess. You wouldn't play with the other classes. Back in my fourth grade, this is like one of the best memories I've ever had. Back in my fourth grade, we used to have our class. We were like heavily bonded, and everything like that. And then the other class, so like our class, like our one class would play on the soccer field, and like there were like two goals. So the one goal had like a very muddy and like bad. It was very bad to play on, and the other goal had like an amazing goal. It was like grass and everything like that. I don't know how to describe it exactly. I mean, hopefully that's a good description. So we had the good goal, and they had the bad goal. And basically, what they said, they came up to us. So they were in a different class, so we didn't hang out with them. We didn't talk to them. We didn't even know their names or each other, like anything like that. And they came up to us one day or something like that, and they said like, we'll play you guys every single day. Like we'll play you, and whoever wins, we get the whoever wins, the winner gets the good goal, and we would get the bad goal. So what we ended up doing is like every single day, like as we would go off for recess, like we would just like run out, like we would like sprint and just immediately go. Like it was I can't. It was like the most fun thing I've ever probably had ever in my life. Going sprinting outside every single day during that fourth grade year. I don't think fifth grade we did it as much. I don't think fifth grade we did it, but in fourth grade we did it, and it was like it was so amazing every single day. We stopped doing it, I think. I mean, no, we continued it the whole year long. Like what ended up happening was they beat us in the end. I was the goalkeeper actually, because they said, "Oh yeah, let's put the chubby kid in the goal." No, but I was actually like not too bad at everywhere else. Like I was a pretty good attacker, but back then I was really good at goalkeeping. Like everyone would say, like you're insane at like saving the ball and everything like that, which I was. I was a really good goalkeeper back then. I still am. Like I mean, I played, but I would still be a really good goalkeeper. But yeah, though I think the reason why was because everyone would shoot very slowly, and I was very good at saving it. Like in sixth grade, like when we went up to sixth grade, everyone was just like power shot it, and it was mad annoying, like trying to save it, like it would just hurt. So like I would try to like dodge the ball at that point. So at that point, I stopped playing goalkeeper. That's when I started playing offense. But before then, I was a really good goalkeeper. Everyone would say, "Oh yeah, he's like the best goalkeeper in the grade and everything like that." And we only had 100 kids in our grade, right? Yeah, but we were considered like the biggest grade. Like every single grade had like 70 kids. We had like 100 kids, so that was pretty sick. But it was only like the two classes. I don't know what happened to the other classes. I don't know. They were weird, so we didn't play with them. But yeah, anyways, that was mad fun. But you know, anyways, getting to the point which I was, the thing that sucked though was being the new kid as well in school. Because when you were the new kid in school, you were just like not like I was a new kid at a lot of schools. At my first grade, I was a new kid. At my first school, I was a new kid as well. Um, and fourth grade, I went to another school. I was a new kid. And seventh grade, I went to another school as a new kid. In high school, going to high school is a new area. So I was a new kid in a lot of areas. But in my particular fourth grade year, like, I mean, every year basically, the whole day, like, you would go to school, you would just look at other people talking, you wouldn't even say a word. That was me. I wouldn't say a word to anybody all day. And, it was just like a weird thing. You would like look at everyone, observe everyone, and you'd be like, oh yeah, so how do I fake my personality to fit in with these guys? And that's something that you should never do ever. Fake your personality, just be your natural self. And that's an issue that I'm currently facing in the adult world, where whenever I'm out, it's very hard nowadays to, let's say, make friends. Like at college, for example, I feel like that new kid. I also transferred to this college that I'm at this year, but I feel like that new kid as well, where like I don't like I can't talk to anybody. Like I feel like I have to fake my personality almost, and I feel like that's also another thing as well. Another issue I was facing in the college thing where I didn't feel like I belonged at the college. It was a really high academic college. Like it was like high, like you had to have like really good grades to get into this college and anything like that. And yeah, I wasn't always the smartest kid growing up, so I always felt like an outcast being there. It was like a whole like nice area and everything, and you're just there. So it's like you feel like all weird and everything. Like, why am I at this place? I feel like I didn't deserve it sometimes. Maybe sometimes like that. I just feel like I didn't belong. So every single time I was around there, I was just like it felt like almost like I wasn't even like a college kid. It felt like I was an adult. So now I feel like I can even like it felt like I was like a 25-year-old almost. Like I felt like everyone there was like no one would talk to each other. Everyone's just like quiet and would do their own thing. And I feel like that's how everyone is, just in society. Everyone's quiet, really. They do their own thing, not because they want to be quiet, but because they don't want to bother anyone. And I feel like that's a big thing, especially on campus or on college when I would experience that. I just didn't want to bother anybody. I didn't want to like talk to somebody because I remember one time I actually saw it with my own eyes. There was this one guy who was like trying to be friends with the other guy, and like he was like talking to me. Like, the other guy was like he was like speaking like deep. I don't talk about people I dislike or anything like that. I don't look at people and dislike him. I really dislike this guy, to be honest. I don't know, he would like fake his voice. He would be like, yeah, yeah. Like you can tell like he was faking it. He would be like, yeah, so with this like it was mad fake. And he was as well. I don't want to like say, oh yeah, all athletes have ego, but yeah, he was a D1 volleyball player, so I don't know if that adds anything to it. And maybe he had a little ego there, being a D1 athlete, but I was also a college athlete. I didn't have I wrestled against some D1. I'm not like D1 starters. I'm not like I don't have an ego. I don't talk in a deep voice. But he was talking in a deep voice, and it was mad weird. But anyways, like he would like ego the guy, and like the next day, like the next couple of days, he would just sit away from him. And it was like he was bothering him almost. And it was like that's what I don't want to come across as. And it's like weird because how do you tell another adult like, oh yeah, you want to hang out? Like, what are you talking about? We have stuff to do. Of course, in college, a lot of people aren't working, but for me, it's like as well. Sometimes I feel like everyone's working because I'm working so much. I'm not working like I'm working on content, producing. I don't work as much as I did in college because in college now I have a lot more free time. In college, I had to commute like 30, 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back, and walk like 15 minutes to my classes. So I would like would lose like 3 hours in a day. So I would had to like grind like for the time I had. I had to grind like content. Back then I was posting a lot more than I am now. Now I have a better structure, like a better strategy to post more content. But back then I was not posting as much content. So, you know, I felt like everyone was working. I didn't want to bother everyone. We don't want to go up to anybody like, oh yeah, want to hang out, really? Because like what are you gonna hang out? What are you gonna do? Everyone nowadays just scrolls on their phone. Everyone nowadays just lazy, has bad habits, and that's what they talk about. Like it's the common thing in the adult world where it's like, oh yeah, you want to go to the bar, you want to drink. That's a social thing. Bar, drinking, partying, going to concerts. None of that's my interest. I don't like going to concerts isn't something that's for me. Going to sporting events isn't really for me. I get anxious at sporting events, which is weird because like I just said before, I did compete in sports, in college sports, like, but it's like when I'm actually competing, I don't know why this is as well. I don't even get nervous before my college matches, and I was wrestling against some higher ranked guys, so I wasn't like I was wrestling nobodies, and I wouldn't even get slightly nervous. But when I'm actually watching everything like that, I get anxious. I'm like, oh, I want to be the guy who everyone's watching. Like if people boo the guy, I actually feel like kind of bad for him. I'm like, wait, I feel like because like if I was getting booed, I'm not feeling and everything like that. And I just get a little anxious when I'm watching other people. I want to be the guy who is doing that. But regardless, the point is, I don't really have much of a thing. The only thing is that one guy who I saw, just talking to the other guy, like the guy who's not the D1 athlete, the other guy. He was just being himself, and although he came across a little corny and a little weird, maybe it was his physical appearance. He didn't look physically like the best, so I think that's why his ego hit him as well. I don't know. He was very tall, dude. He didn't look the all time great. He didn't look bad. He looked good, but it was like he wasn't like a 10 out of 10. So, and he didn't have like a crazy physique. He didn't look like he lifted too much, which isn't an issue. But for the other guy, he was more muscular because he's a D1 athlete. You gotta lift to be an athlete. So, and he was like that guy who was like speaking in a deep voice, like oh, he was like, oh, I don't know. I said it before. You know what I'm saying. So, basically, yeah, the solution really, I would say, was just be yourself and don't be afraid to be yourself. That's something that I have. That's an issue that I'm facing. So I can't say, oh yeah, you can just do it and you'll do it first time. I have an issue like that as well, where I can't be myself a lot of times. A lot of times I'll be this quiet, this quiet guy who's very like sounding like tough almost. I don't know. It's funny, but I don't know. It's just a natural thing for me. So maybe just be your natural self and find a group. There's always a group, maybe join Discord. I'm gonna probably download Discord one day and maybe play and go on mics and stuff like that because I don't go on mics or anything. So I need somebody to talk to at least. I haven't talked to anybody in a long time. Oh my god, now I'm thinking about it. I haven't talked to anybody in a long time. Like almost a year now. That's crazy. Like an actual real friend, like or anybody, like a really fun conversation. I've had that over a year and a half. Almost 2 years. So you're seeing it live in the moment. I'm gonna figure it out. I'll actually let you know in the next coming videos how that is. But yeah, just be yourself. Just laugh around, mess around, joke around. Don't take life too serious, but don't also take life as a complete joke. And just keep doing the right things to work as hard as possible.